What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Crime Pays a Botany Doesn't. Today, I'm back in the old neighborhood in Oakland, California. Got the sound of the BART train, got the smell of the diesel particulates mixed with the maritime salty air from the bay, as well as a mild hint of the scent of urine to check on some of the plants that I planted over the last 15 years in which I lived here before I moved away. I used to work at the train yard over there, used to live a few blocks away from here, and so in my off days, I'd be, drawn or going out, looking for trouble to get into, whatever the hell, but I'd also be planting trees and other plants, in places like vacant lots, people's yards, and then recently the center strip at a median boulevard near where I used to live. So today we're going to go check on some of the stuff that I planted, see how it's doing. Some stuff's died, a lot of stuff's been ripped out. There was a real estate agent who lived nearby who had a real hard-on for me. She really hated me, but that aside, best of luck to her. Hope she's doing well. Regardless, she had some stuff ripped out. I later got some stuff authorized and okayed by the city through their Adopt a Spot program, so it was good to go. The city wasn't going to bother with it. She ended up getting some of that, the real estate agent. But and then a lot of other stuff is still there and doing good. So either way, let's go check on it. Let's see how it goes. Look at that! You could see the cranes. That's what those machines in that Star Wars movie. That's what what's his face saw and got the inspiration for. He designed them after that. I remember one day they found a human foot in that recycling center. Just thrown out in the trash. So if you gotta dispose of body parts, put them in the garbage, not in the recycling. Now, first up, you could see this coast redwood. I did not actually plant that, but this Monterey, actually this is Butano cypress, very rare cypress species. I did plant that. Planted that roughly, I don't know, I grew it from seed, planted it probably 10 or 11 years ago. Ooh, it's kind of sketchy. Looks like one of those branches is about to come down. You need somebody with a chainsaw to come by, start taking that piece apart. Otherwise, it's going to take the whole tree down with it. Wonderful tree though, rare as hell. It only grows on one little sandstone outcrop, surrounded by redwood forest in southern San Mateo County. It's the only spot in the world that this particular subspecies grows. But yeah, anyway, I had a friend that used to live here. Asked him if I could plant something in the yard and sank it in. So it's been there about 15 years. Planted some other stuff. Oh, I think that's one of mine too, back there. I used to have a cool Araucaria back there as well. I think it died. Got your invasive Himalayan blackberries. They are delicious as hell, but the soil here might be slightly contaminated. It was an industrial site. Now the bay used to actually occur on the other side of the freeway. That's where it was 100 years ago. The rest is all landfill. I remember seeing a photograph of a little sailboat tied up to the bay right near the old train station over there. Look at the subconscious art of graffiti removal. See, even in trying to remove graffiti, they've been doing a whole abstract expressionist gray rectangle thing. Now moving up here, I had some stuff here. Looks like it got ripped out. That's an invasive, really terrible member of the morning glory family. It's one of the invasive Ipomoeas. Oh, that's a bad one. It'll reroot itself into the ground as you go. This is an incense cedar. Grew that from seed. You can see those little male cones up there, the pollen cones. Wonderful tree. That'll do well in Chicago too. I planted one in front of my mom's house. It's like, about the same size. Over here we got Quercus rugosa, widespread Mexican oak with the beautiful yellow indumint on the underside of the leaves. Glabrous up top, all right, to shed rain. And then during the dry season in Mexico, it's got those hairs. You also get this in southern Arizona. I think you get some in Texas as well. Grew that from an acorn that I collected at the UC Berkeley Bot Garden. It's fine to take seeds from the Bot Garden. No offense. They'll probably get mad at me if they heard me saying that, but if they got enough, there's like you get a mass here, you take some, take them in your pocket, whatever. This used to be the Cole Brothers Auto Wrecking Yard. Really nice guys. I think they sold it. They were OGs in the neighborhood. They sold it. They dipped out. Good for them. Those condos had just been built when I planted all this stuff. Right here, you can see we got another Butano cypress up there. Hesperociperus abramsiana subspecies butanoensis. This is a good old California buckeye. Drought deciduous, so they lose their leaves during the dry summers, right about July or August, and then you can see they've got buds. They'll be putting leaves out here in a month or so. Because remember, this area of California does get winter rain. We are in the Mediterranean climate here, which just means winter rain, summer dry. Oh God, I get like the smell of garbage mixed with the salt. Very pleasant, very nostalgic. Anyway, You can see they've been doing proper maintenance here, which I do appreciate, because these cypresses, you really got to keep them under control. They should probably trim a few more up so they don't fall on a roof. This was one of the red oaks. I forget what that was. Maybe Gambellii? I don't know. I planted that. It's not, probably needs a little bit more moisture than it's getting right here. You can see there's been a sooty mold. Insects do attack it. And also some of that is just particulate exhaust, you know, from the diesel exhaust settling out of the atmosphere because the port is nearby. You get a long, dry summer with no rain, you're going to get some diesel particulates on your windowsills and on your leaves, my friend. Yeah, these were the Cole Brothers auto wreckers. Real nice guys. This, oh, look, they got the Acacia melanoxylon. That's actually a bad one. Probably wonderful in Australia where it's native. Here, it's a really bad invasive plant spread by birds. And those up there are not leaves. They're actually photosynthetic flattened stems. The leaves on this, since they are a legume, and they're in the mimosa subfamily, the leaves are pinnate and tiny. Like many, they look mimosa-like, you know? But those are just flattened stems. That's an adaptation to a drier climate. So that thing does well here. Those phyllodes. Yeah, it's phyllodes, not cladodes. Cladodes are on a prickly pear. This, I forget what cypress this was. I don't think it's a native one. Somebody gave it to me, but I snuck it in there anyway. You can see we've got a wonderful layer of mulch and organic material here. Hides the human shit. It gets dropped here pretty well. And also, it's building a rich microbial community of a rich duff as well. Organic material in the soil. Building a very rich duff. This is some non-native cherry. Somebody else... This other very kind lady, but she wanted to get involved, so she started just planting some of her own stuff. Some of it not native, slightly invasive, but whatever. You have to each their own. This was an olive tree. Looks like somebody's been doing work on that, pruning it. That's nice. Olives are not native, but they're not too invasive here either. This is that Acacia melanoxylon. This thing's got to go, man, because this'll take over. I don't know if they're allelopathic or what. They got nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots, but they're real bad. You can see somebody, I think that was me. I think I sawed that down before I left. Resprout or whatever. They're tough trees, man. You probably got to apply some herbicide to the vascular cambium. Right here we got Ailanthus altissima, all right? Not so invasive on the West Coast because they need more water than they generally get. But Midwest and East Coast climates, they get very invasive. Brought over from China for silk production, for the silk moths. Over here we got a Brugmansia species, which gets confused with Datura a lot, but these are from the high Andean cloud forests of Colombia and Central America, and Datura is generally from the deserts of North America. But anyway, toxic, nightshade family, but beautiful flowers, often specialize in moth pollination or hummingbird. There's a couple that do hummingbird pollination. Really easy to root from cuttings though, and not invasive because they need a lot of moisture. So they're not going to snap out. This is a giant sequoia. I actually grew this from seed. It's about 15 years of growth on a giant Sierra redwood. You can see it's generally big as hell, and it'll, you know, were it to keep growing, it'll one day destroy the street. But that's not, you know, you got a century. None of us will be around then anyway. Look at that beautiful bark. And compare the needles on a giant sequoia with those of the coast redwood, which I'll show you just up there on a corner. Okay, moving right along. Look at that thing. It's got to be 50 feet tall. Now, it's, yeah, like 12 years of growth. Moving right along, this is Sargent cypress. This is a rare cypress that's endemic to serpentine soils. It only grows on serpentine geology. That is the ultramafic geology. You can see it's got a nice bluish color. This was from seed I collected, I think, on Cedar Mountain in Alameda County. Beautiful tree, though. It's growing. You know, see, they do get a little messy up top, and it can be a fire hazard. So you gotta prune those as you go. Get a nice electric chainsaw or an electric pole saw. I like the electrics because you don't lose as much energy like you do with the combustion. They're also not as fucking loud, not as much of a pain in the ass. Forget the gas in there. You just throw a battery in there, start pruning them up. Okay, this was a Monterey cypress. This is the most common species in the genus Hesperocypris that's planted. This and Hesperocypris arizonica. So this is Monterey cypress. I grew it from seed. I'm surprised it's still alive. Kind of looks like shit. If it were up to me, I would take it down because it's going to fall one day anyway. Some of the ones in Golden Gate Park look beautiful, but they only live like 100 years, which is pretty short for a conifer. Look at that thing. I thought this thing started to die like 8 years ago. I'm surprised no one's taken it down yet. It's gonna fall and crash one of these luxury automobiles at some point. Now this is nice. This is nice right here. This is a bay tree. All right, like the bay leaves you'd use in cooking. My friend Peter used to work at a nursery. This is like 20 years ago. gave me one of these. Actually, he gave me two. I planted the other one up on Wood Street next to a chain link fence in a homeless camp. But this one is obviously doing a lot better. And you can see this rich duff. Can you imagine what the mycorrhizal community right here must be like? Absolutely rich. Fantastic. Loaded with arbuscular mycorrhizae and ectomycorrhizae as well. Anyway, that said, avocado family Loracea, and the leaves are pretty fragrant because, again, that is, you know, bay leaf in cooking, that's what you're using. This species, native to the Mediterranean, not too invasive here from what I know, but we have our own native California member of this family, the California Bay. I should have planted that instead, but honestly, this was a freebie. I didn't have anywhere else to get it, and you know, it's fucking Oakland, so it's whatever. It's not invasive, not taking off. This is Washingtonia californica, which can be invasive in other parts of the world, native to the Mojave Desert and Sonoran Desert, but here it's doing fine. Planted that as a seedling, and you can see it's got about 15 feet tall. This was actually an accession of mine. This is a coast redwood. This was an accession of mine. They may have been taken from a nearby big box store without paying for it, but that was 15 years ago, maybe 16, 17. I was a different man then. All right, but look, it's easily 60 feet fucking tall right now. Grows just as fast, if not a little bit faster, than the giant redwood, which I showed you over there. Look, you could still see the Cole Brothers sign. I don't know what's here now. They're probably going to put something terrible up, maybe more condos, overpriced apartments, who knows. But hopefully they'll leave this tree alone. It's probably, God knows how deep the roots go or how far out they go as well. But that's a massive tree. When I planted it, it was like the diameter of maybe a thumb. And so it's, I don't know, what is it, 14 years of growth? What is this? It's a goddamn acacia melanoxylon again. So you see these, you got to cut them. Look, they're display in heteroblasty. See that? Actually, it's just dimorphic leaves. Okay, so you got the young leaves right there, and then when they get old, when they get more mature and larger, you get these phylos, which are just technically that's just a flattened photosynthetic stem. A lot of the Australian acacias do that. I don't know who the fuck brought that over. Thought it was you know, attractive and planted it in the garden, but it's really invasive out here, and it's really hard to get rid of too. More Brugmansia. There's that acacia again. Oof, it's getting ready to flower. They do smell good when they flower. Like I said, I'm sure they're very important where they're native. Here they're a fucking nightmare. What's going on with this like a sooty black mold on the dawn redwood? I was obsessed with this genus for a while. It's a seed-grown dawn redwood, metasequoia, native to China. Critically endangered in habitat. There's far more of them planted in cultivation than there are left in the wild. Here's another one. Look at that beautiful bark. It's 40 feet tall right there. Not really as wet as they like it. They grow in floodplains. They're not used to dry summers, but in a mild Bay Area climate they do well. Maybe not so well inland if they're not right on a source of water. There you go, nice illustration of acacia melanoxylon uplifting the sidewalk and slowly destroying the concrete. It's got a bunch of other little sprout. See those little orange things? Those are the seeds. See, you got a little black seed with that like winged orange arrow around it. Another Hesperocyprus abramsiana butanoensis, a butano cypress. I was in love with those, man. I was growing a ton of them. They grow fast as hell, easy to germinate. And they're a critically endangered tree too. But again, the older branches just die. That brown dies on them. The green stays alive. So it's best to prune them off as they grow. As you can see, this spot's still a vacant lot. It was a vacant lot when I planted this. It's how I got in there, and then they put a fence up. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe they're just sitting on it. But you got a nice tree there now. That right there is one of my favorite trees in the neighborhood. Ericaria heterophylla. It's a Norfolk Island pine. Same plant that you might see, you know, being sold in a Walgreens, right? Like around Christmas time, you know, they wrap it, they put it in a pot, they wrap a little bit of red tinsel and tin foil around the pot. That thing will stay. Remember my grandma had one, you know, she had one in her little living room area. She had one, it was just, my grandma had one, it was a tiny plant. Stayed that same age for about a decade. Never got bigger. But when you put them in the ground in a climate where they can survive, they don't like freezing, they can take off. That thing's easily 120 feet tall. It's a whole family of conifers that evolved in the Triassic. You know, I think that lineage is older than the dinosaurs, to be honest with you. But beautiful trees, you know, when they get large. Oh, this was nice. This was a vacant lot. Planted some of this stuff here. You got a Torrey pine back there, endangered native California pine. The oak tree that was planted by the scrub jays. They just plant acorns in the ground, forget where they put them, and then they turn into trees. I planted that palm, that Washingtonia foliifera. This is a Guadalupe cypress, endangered cypress, only known from Guadalupe Island. I was planting a shit ton of those back in the day. There's another cypress back there. I don't know if you can see it. It's Tecate. It's the Tecate cypress. And there were a couple other trees there as well, including, oh, they still got one of the salvias back there. Oh, that's nice. Including that heteromeles arbustifolia. That was planted that as well. What else you got left? I don't know. Looks like some sleazebag investor bought it, cleared everything out, and cut a bunch of shit down. But you know, some stuff's left. These Quercus agrifolia, these coast live oaks are fucking great, man. Look at that. The squirrels love the shit out of them too. Now these dreaded plums, you know, I think Sierra Club or some nonprofit was planting them. They're an ornamental plum. They look like absolute shit for about 95% of the year. And you can see they don't get that big, but they were cutting out these squares of concrete and putting them in over there. I think you got a Chinese sumac over there, but either way, these ornamental plums were terrible because they're just aphid farms, and they drip shit all over the cars and all over the sidewalk. Pretty fucking nasty. And this thing, I know this was planted. This has been here about 10 years. It didn't it didn't get very big. But conversely, the Tecate cypress I planted roughly in 2010, so that's about 14 years old, is doing great. And I'd come back and actually prune it and maintain it. It needs to be pruned. All those lower branches need to be pruned. It's an endangered species native to northern Baja California and southern California. Only known from 5 populations in Southern California. But look at that beautiful orange bark. That is a gorgeous fucking tree. The leaves, the foliage smells like lemon. This whole building used to be abandoned. Remember one time, you know, maybe 14 years ago, we took a bunch of mushrooms, broke into it. It was abandoned. We went up to the roof, watched the fog come in, you know, trip on our asses off for about 4 or 5 hours. Nice Bay Area winter night, beautiful experience. But you know, they filled it up. Now it's like $5,000 a month for a condo there or something. I don't know. Over here we got one of these Central American salvia species. This thing is doing really well. I'm surprised it's made it through the summer because they're from cloud forests in Central America, Colombia, etc. Hummingbird pollinated. They can get upwards of, like, you know, 12 foot tall. Beautiful flowers, fragrant. Oh, look at it. The scrub jays are still active. I gotta smell. Someone's chiefing. It smells like weed. Anyway, this is Quercus rugosa again. I was planting a bunch of those. Yeah, see, look at those little bastards. Fuck, I love those things. They'll come eat peanuts right out of your hand. And they plant acorns all over the place, right along the fence lines in the train yard, and so you'll just get the new trees popping up. They're tree planters too. They were the emblem of the Department of Unauthorized Forestry. Anyway, this was this is live oak. I had them a drone. I planted on the other side of the block too. A lot of nice stuff here. Look at that. Look at that peeling bark on the Tecate cypress. You know, but you got to prune the bottom branches up. When you're planting shit illegally, you got to maintain it, or else the city's going to come by and do it. And when they do that, they might realize it wasn't authorized to be planted in the first place. So you got to handle it. Right here, we got a wild collected Guadalupe cypress. So that was seed that was collected on the island. Give it to me by a friend who went there. Look at that beautiful bark. Planted it again. You just got to get in there and clean all that shit out. Maybe a leaf blower or something. I don't know, man. But, you know, it looks like shit right now. But once that's cleaned out, once the tree matures, it's fucking beautiful. It's a beautiful plant. Right there, the pollen cones, you can see. Gorgeous. Endangered species right here in a residential street in Oakland. So this right here was the main garden. And that whole strip right there was just covered in plants. I had about 35 different species growing there. A lot of rare ones. Over there, same thing. Actually got a donation from So-Called Nursery. They brought a bunch of stuff too. So I was growing mostly natives, but then I love, you know, Mesoamerican cloud forests. And once we figured out how to turn the irrigation on, and I was able to do that, then we could water, so then I could start planting some of that cloud forest stuff. Because remember, no summer rain here, so we had to supplement. And, you know, the irrigation water was reclaimed. It was a little high salinity. I never, you know, tested it with a TDS meter for dissolved solids, but it wasn't the best, but it worked. Fucking intersection always made me nervous. People speed down here, no stop sign. You know, you just got to put cinder blocks in the road as a speed bumper. Anyway, so this was This was all natives. These were actually invasive, this mirabilis species. Got this all permitted and authorized by the city after the fact. Asked for forgiveness, not permission. God, this is brutal to see because this was a dense, really lovely corridor of native plants. And it was, up to here, covered in all kinds of, different rare plant species. I wonder if you got any of that Antioch Dunes evening primrose coming back. I don't know, maybe not. There's a lobelia, one of those Central American lobelias coming back from the roots. But yeah, when I real estate agent, she really hated me. So she came in, she ripped everything out once she, found out I dipped out. Oh, look, you got Asclepias speciosa coming back. You got a milkweed that came back. Everything's looking rough now because it is fall, dead for the season. That whole bed was just covered and stuff. You could see you still got that rarities, moth-pollinated toxic member of the nightshade family going off over there. Nice stuff. But it would look good. I mean, she replaced it. She had to replace with all these native salvias. So she the stuff, if she ripped everything else out, she planted natives at least. Probably all the same clone in a nice line. Not the way I would have done it with the landscaping job, but whatever, to each their own. What else here? We got Epilobium canum. And over there was a really cool Caranthophragmatiolenzii. It's a hybrid between two native malvaceous trees. It was. They cut it down. But there was a tweaker living there when I left too, so I don't know, maybe there was some human shit over there as well. Human shit, needles, whatever the fuck. But this right here, this is a really invasive nightshade that I regretted planting. I germinated the seed. It's from Peru. I germinated the seed that I had acquired from a friend, planted one of them, and I was never able to eradicate it. But you know what? In the end, I got the last laugh because they cut everything else down, and this this invasive solanum is here to stay. There's no getting rid of it. It spreads by runners, forms rhizomes, and there is a pollinator benefit at least to bumblebees and anything that can buzz pollinate those yellow anthers. This was a what was this, hibiscus? This was some sort of hibiscus. Man, this was all dense. There was a bunch of stuff here, a bunch of cool flowering stuff. That's the lobelia from Chile. Whoever's maintaining this somehow, for some reason, feels the need to hedge. Right here we got an iachroma, which are cloud forest, Central American cloud forest nightshades. It's an iachroma. There was another one too. Hummer pollinated nightshades with long tube flowers. There's Lavitera astringenta flora, which is a native mallow, Channel Island mallow. I was planting a shit ton of these. And here's the Tagetes marigold family. Those leaves smell incredible. I forget where I got this, if it was the Baja one that I germinated or what. But man, you should have seen this bed 12 years ago. There was nothing here. There wasn't even any soil. There's a rich duff here now too, and tons of cool mushrooms that pop up after you get a decent rain. None of this was here. This was just barren dirt. I mean, a fucking freeway used to be, spanning overhead. Fell down on a 1989 quake. Over there is one of my cypresses. It's a Guadalupe cypress, another wild collected seed Guadalupe cypress, Hesperocyprus guadalupensis. I was fucking in love with those. All right, from Guadalupe Island. This is a very special one too. Pinus maximartinezii, not even known to science until like the late 60s, early 70s, when a cone was found in a fruit market in Zacatecas. This is a white pine, super rare white pine, only known from a couple mountain ranges in southern Mexico. And here it is. A friend who used to work at UCB Botanic Garden gave me that, so I sunk that in the ground. So you need some mulch here. You could never get enough mulch. They mow this, they wouldn't have to mow it as much if they mulched the shit out of it. You wouldn't get as many weeds poking up. God, this whole stretch made me hate roses. Beaten over the head with roses. They flower for like 2 weeks and they look like shit the entire rest of the year. And they act like a little cage for the weeds, so they make it hard to weed too. Brutal. Oh, the incense cedar didn't make it, it croaked. Here's the Guadalupe cypress again. Look at that, what a fucking great tree. Look at that bark. Look at that bark. You just, again, if you got one of these in your yard, just take a leaf blower to all that, because this is the season where all the older foliage that's closer to the stem dies. Normally, like on the island, the winds would break that shit up, clean it up. Now, same thing. This was a lot more diverse and a lot more rich. Had a higher diversity of species here. But after I left, even though it was okayed by the city, that lady, she was a real busybody. She wrote a bunch of emails, had them come in and clear a bunch of stuff out. It was like a turf thing for her, I think. She felt like I was like stepping on her toes by planting some of the stuff. But either way, got this nice agave americana. Sunk one of those in. Native grindelia, right? One of the gum weeds. Supposed to be an antidote to poison ivy. but you can see it's in the sunflower family, Asteraceae. And then right there we got Agave vilmoriniana, which is the Octopus Agave, native buckwheat back here, Eradication fasciculatum. What a fucking great plant. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Such a great one. As long as you plant stuff during the right season, okay, like winter when it rains, or if you can irrigate it when it doesn't, it'll get established. That oak, it's another Quercus rugosa that doesn't like the dry summer. It's been here for quite some time, and I think it's been here like 14 years, and it's gotten 12 feet tall. Another vilmoriniana. Monterey cypress, I didn't plant that. That was just a volunteer seed from a mulch drop that we got. What's over here? Lemonade berry, cool native sumac to Southern California. Pollinator buffet, I'm glad they left that. That's nice. Over here we got frangula, buckthorn family rarities, which I think is also doing some nitrogen fixation down there in those roots. But again, when I started planting all this shit, there wasn't any organic material here. It was just bare dirt. This is all heavily compacted soil. There was there's again the cypress structure, the cypress freeway above here. And so, and all the shit the city had planted died. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take care of them and start planting stuff. These grandelias are fucking great. This is the native grandelia gumweed. These were fucking great. This is Erythrina christagalli. So it's a tree erythrina. We get the genus Erythrina in North America. They don't get this big. They can get upwards of maybe 15 feet tall. This turns into an actual, 40, 50 foot tall tree. This is from Brazil. Okay, so it's not native, but it's not invasive because it doesn't rain here during the summer. This is from a spot that gets summer rain. Why did I plant it? Because it's a living fucking hummingbird feeder with those flowers. That's just a pea flower. Normally, you get that banner petal in the back and it's upright, but in this case, it's flipped over. It's resupinate. And, hummers go in there to get nectar and get a bunch of pollen on their head, then fly off to another flower. The pollen hits the style, like you see right there, that red thing. That red thing looking like a little red comma coming down there, and that's what pollinates this and produces a little bean fruit. Great fucking tree. I can't tell you how great these are, right? Especially where they're not invasive. They're invasive in parts of eastern Australia. Don't plant them there, but if they're in a spot where they're not invasive, look at that. It's a living hummingbird feeder. Let's crack it open. Look at all the nectar in there. Look at the juice. Look at it. Look at all that juice. It's just sugar water. Look, there's an ant already going for it. See that? My friend Matt gave me these. I think they're all clones. They're probably all the same cutting. He planted a bunch. But, you plant them in the city, you get more hummingbirds around. It's nice. There was a bunch of diversity here. They ripped it out. At least they planted natives. They planted them all in a line. But, whatever, There was so much stuff right there. You got stop signs anyway. No one's, they just, I think she was just bummed it was there. Same thing over there. It was ripped it out. Yeah, same thing here. City came through. There were probably 20 different species there. Nothing that got too big. Ripped it out, whatever. I don't know why. If they want us, it's their money. If they want to blow money on it, they can. Had a bunch of trees right here. Tecate cypress. Oh, they left the incense cedar. That's nice. It must not have been too big when they came through and tried to cleanse it. But but anyway, looks well, it looks a lot more barren than it did before. But you can see the Agave perii is still coming up. Agave americana's coming up. Opuntia robustus coming up, and most importantly, the Puya berteroniana / alpestris. This beautiful, really mean bromeliad is still here too. That's seed grown. I germinated it, 10 years ago. Long growing season here, only limited by rain, not by cold, by lack of rain, not by cold. And so I don't think this is going anywhere, because to get this out, you need to get a caterpillar. You need to get like some sort of skid steer or some shit. You get those mean spines on it, and you need to go deep. But it's clumping. And that's because one of these big rosettes will send up a flower stalk. This is probably the most beautiful flowering plant in the world, one of them. The flowers are like iridescent blue, metallic blue. They got orange pollen, orange anthers. It's a fucking banger of a plant. I was obsessed with them for a while. They're from South America. They're from Chile, from a similar climate, maybe even a little drier. And this is such a great, I'm so glad that this is still here. Looks like it should flower next year or the year after. And, you just get this big torch, like 6 or 7 feet tall, filled with hundreds of blue flowers that are hummingbird pollinated. The inflorescence actually creates a little perch, a branch of sterile, non-flowering inflorescence that birds can perch on to stick their head in there and pollinate the thing while they're going for the nectar. See, this is where, we really had an issue. You're planting a birch, a non-native birch, in a Mediterranean climate where it doesn't rain during the summer. You see what the roots did, and the soil's so fucking compacted too that the roots just basically paralleled the ground, didn't grow very well, and it probably needs a lot of supplemental watering. But the agaves, however, do great. Look at that. That's like, there's like 30 pups. This was a tiny 1-gallon pot when I planted it. More Erythrina cristagalli. What do you got over there? Oh yeah, see, a bipping. That's when they break into your car. You know, you take 3 minutes to go inside and get a coffee. They'll break into your car, jack everything. You got to bring your backpack with you. It's a nice cafe. They tend to, you know, give you scowls though when you go in there, which is, notice is a common Bay Area thing. This is a nice thing. Look at this, Platanus racemosa, California sycamore, native sycamore, our fastest growing tree here next to coast redwoods. Grew that from a seed, planted it, I don't know, 6 years ago. It's 20 feet tall. They get big as hell too. They tend to be restricted to arroyos and waterways, even dry waterways in situ though. Over here we got a couple salvias. What is that? Salvia macrophylla. Yeah, there you go. Salvia macrophylla. Look how sticky it is. You get all those glandular hairs on it. Beautiful hummingbird pollinated blue flowers. I guess bees go for it too. Lavatera astringenta flora. Another one we planted. That agave we planted. I think that's Weberite. More Erythrina cristagalli, the living hummingbird feeder. See what else we got going. They originally had a bunch of coast redwoods here, but as coast redwoods need fog and moisture and tend to grow in canyons and wet sites, they didn't like open exposure during the hot Bay Area rainless summers. You know, agave Weberite. You got one redwood left. Hasn't grown at all in the 15 years that I was here. It'll be dead, I don't know, a couple years. Might hang on for a while though. More non-native African sumacs. Is that Africa or Asia? I don't know. It's one of the non-native sumacs. You can look, that's half dead too. Now, see, if I still lived there, I'd come out and chainsaw that thing down and plant some cool natives. All right, you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. It's worth chainsawing stuff. What is it? That's one of those other. Yeah, I don't know why the fuck they were planting these things. So disconnected. You know, you got so many cool native plants that do so well in this climate, but they were planting shit from, you know, 6,000 miles away that doesn't survive anyway. Last bed. Let's check this one out. So we got more agave. I think that's still Weberite. Iachroma. Okay, the genus Iachroma. Hummingbird pollinated from the high Andes in Central America nightshade family. Really cool, really wonderful genus. Lots of diversity in it. This thing is fucking great. This is Cantua. The genus is Cantua, and it's in the phlox family. It's a South American phlox, more of that cool cloud forest stuff. Hummingbird pollinated, as you can tell from those long pendant red flowers. Fucking love this thing. Doesn't look like anything when it's not flying. This looks like something that would be labeled foliage. You know, if you got it at a big box store. But then the secret, of course, is in its pollination ecology. It's pollinated by fucking hummingbirds, and the whole family is known for generally small herbaceous things. But then you've got this weird lineage that becomes a small tree, a multi-branched, large shrub, small tree that you know, feeds the hummingbird. More of a living hummingbird feeder. Hummingbirds will come by, hit this, hit that. It's fucking great to see them. A lot of hummingbird activity in the bay. This thing is great. This is Caranthodendron. It's got bird pollinated flowers, fucking huge. Was obsessed with it for a while. Grew a ton from seed. Get one tree. That's all you need for seed because they're self-fertile. It's in the Mallow family, Malvaceae. The leaves look cool. It's from 9,000 feet in Oaxacan cloud forest. Got the underside right there. Look at that beautiful indument. Oh, that rusty indumentum. And then glabrous up top, typical leaf shape for the cotton family Malvaceae. They can get upwards of 60 feet tall. This probably won't get that big here because it doesn't get that much water and it's got open exposure. Remember, it doesn't like those dry summers, okay? In Oaxaca, where it grows, you got a reverse rainfall pattern. Dry winters, wet summers. Regardless, the temperature in Oaxacan cloud forest is about the same as the Bay Area, so this thing's doing fucking great. But I don't know what happened if it's, I thought it would be a little bit bigger, but again, maybe wasn't getting enough water. But it's hanging in there. Big red flowers. Used to see the scrub jays going to drink from them, and they'd show up at my little window when I'd be feeding them peanuts, and they'd have pollen all over their forehead from the anthers of the flowers of this plant. Yeah, see, we got this all okayed too. We had a bunch of cool native salvias here, mixed with some Central American salvias, and they came in, ripped them out, and planted lavender, and whatever. It's not that bad, you know, but it's nice to see a little bit more foliage. I mean, lavender's not native. We had some native stuff. Had some stuff there too. Ripped that out. You know, by the time I moved away, I wasn't able to get this stretch, but I certainly would have gotten to it eventually. It does need some work. If you live here, you should start planting some native shrubs in there. That over there, I think that was Salvia wagneriana. You can see it's hanging in there. Everything looks like shit because it's end of the season. That thing will look much better in 6 months after they've gotten some winter rain. Assuming they do, and the climate's not all fucked up here in the winter and you have another drought season. But anyway, this was, you know, you could do this anywhere. You just got to figure it out. You got to work out all the kinks, think about it, see who's paying attention, reach out to the city, reach out to your city if you can. If not, just go ahead and do it anyway. If you think they're not paying attention, you can get away with it. But that's really what it counts, you know. And you can always ask for forgiveness after you've neglected to ask for permission. Look at this fucking Iachroma. What a great plant. This was seed grown too. Collected seed in one of the botanic gardens and just grew a shit ton of them. Anyway, that's all I got. Hopefully you got some out of that. Have a great day. Go fuck yourself. Bye.